Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be talking about today's editing world versus the editing world of 2018. And I think it's changed a lot since I started editing, because I started editing in May of 2018. I actually started, I made some of my first edits when I was in Europe. In 2018, I had so much free time in the Sweden hotels that I was like, I gotta do something. And I was like, this looks really fun. And I just came off of lots of lots of personal things that I was dealing with. So I was like, let's do this little outlet thing. And it ended up being like something that I just loved and that I kind of now get to do for the rest of my life because I am going to be a graphic designer. So anyways, let's talk about today's editing style versus the 2018 editing style. So something that's like very specific to me is you get smoother as like the time goes on, because I remember back in the day, we used to make edits. I started out as a Taylor Swift like fan account, and then I kind of moved into a Taylor Swift editing account, and then I made a multi, and then now I have a Taylor Swift editing account, fan account, like a multi fandom like account. Just I post everything on there. But I remember back in the day of the Taylor Swift editing fandom. If you remember this, you're a real one. The 2018 of like Jailer Taylor, Castles Crumbling, timeless edits. Oh my gosh, Alice, the best. But like if you go back and I have some of these edits, Swift Trouble, I have some of these edits saved from like the After Effects editors that I thought were the best that ever. And we get smoother as time goes on. It's kind of like we get better at recreating things as time goes on. Like if you look at art, digital art looks much better than like painted art, like portraits. Photographs are the exact same. We get better at replicating things, so we obviously are going to get better and smoother and more organized as time goes on. So that's something that I really have noticed during the 20 from like 2018 to 2024. But like the concepts kind of stay the same, even though everything's smoother and like we use different transitions and such. Lots of transitions are of the time. So I think that's like important to like preface. So when you're like watching, like if you go back right now and look at Jailer Taylor, I think their account is still up. If you're watching this and you don't know what I'm talking about, look up at Jailer Taylor on Instagram, because those edits are so cool and like they're so nostalgic for me as a human. But I think that now they wouldn't be considered as like they got 20 hundreds of thousands of views in Swift Trouble. Look up I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but look up Swift Trouble and you'll notice that they have such good edits, but of the time. So like if they posted them now, people would be like, what is happening? And you can kind of see that, like, because people will switch their styles, slowly evolving over time. Like if you look at my first After Effects edits, you're obviously going to get better at it, but it's not just like your personal journey of growth, but it's like the entire editing fandom gets better at editing over time, because there's been more time for the medium to have been practiced. One thing I do notice though that I find very odd, because back in the day it used to be very important, like 3D Sienna MP4 style, which I think is one of like an inspiration that I used to pull a lot of my edits from, like her backgrounds and her transitions and all that other stuff. I used to really want my edits to look like hers, but I think that 3D has slowly been dying out, and I don't know if that's like that type of 3D, like the cubes and the pyramids, and that used to be such a big deal. But now we kind of have like the emo who from Whoville style, which is also 3D, but it's like a different kind of 3D. It's like almost a better 3D. I don't know if that makes sense, but like we don't use cubes, and those were such big deals. But now like we do use cubes, but like in a different format. Like even the cube pyramid that we do, that's kind of died out. I don't really personally like doing that. I've never really enjoyed 3D. Like that's just not my style, but I've always really loved 3D editors. Like I said, Sienna MP4 was really important to my editing journey and yada yada yada. But I think that it's just like less of a Sienna MP4 style and more of a Lauren emo who from Whoville style that we're kind of like merging ourselves into. And I think another thing is like each fandom really has its own style. It used to be like via each person, but if you notice, and I don't know if it's just because I was in the Taylor Swift fandom, so I don't this is obviously like all the stuff that I'm saying is like things that I've kind of noticed, and maybe I'm just like maybe when I was 13 I was just blind, but I think that each fandom has its own style. Like if you look at like TikTok editors, you're still seeing Sienna MP4 because there's specific editors that have made such an impact. Emo Who from Whoville is an example of an editor that has made an impact on the entire editing community, and I think that that's kind of like rare to find nowadays. You kind of have like specific editors making impacts in specific fandoms, and I think that I notice that a lot because I'm a multi-fandom editing account, so I kind of watch edits from everybody. Like I know the Glee situation, it's a lot of CapCut, a lot of which is great, and I think that that takes a different skill set because you're taking scenes and you're placing them to the words, which I think is very fun. And I think if you do it that way, it's better. But if you make a hot velocity edit, I just don't really like them. Sorry. But that's just a personal preference. So you would notice back in the day, like during when Riverdale was popular, a lot of different editors would have that the Riverdale editing style as their style. Like you very much, I read this comment on drk.betty's Instagram post because I think Riverdale just ended recently, and I used to watch Riverdale, but I stopped when there started being aliens. I was like, I'm out. But I read on her post, it was like Riverdale really influenced the editing community, and I think like TikTok really influenced the editing community, or like the TikTokers like Lauren, Addison Rae, Charlie D'Amelio really influenced the editing community as a whole, and like so did Riverdale. Emo Who from Whoville influenced the whole editing community, but like also certain things influence people. I think the rise of multi fandom is really interesting, and I think that that's really cool, and I really like that. We're all still in our own little bubbles because you're only seeing, and I think that's because you're only seeing edits from like your fandom if that's the only fandom you're in. So like, if you just like Lauren Gray, you're only seeing Lauren Gray edits, you know. So it's just that's just the situation you're in. Something I've also really noticed, and I don't know if it was because I was in the Taylor Swift fandom, but Taylor Swift audios are so popular, and like that makes sense. But I feel like they've risen in popularity. Like I remember them from when I was a Taylor Swift editor. The people would edit Taylor Swift to Taylor Swift, which I think is so odd in itself. But that's just a personal preference on me. But I remember back in the day, One Direction and 5 Seconds of Summer used to be such big editing audio situations, and I think now it's definitely gone down. It is more Taylor Swift, which I'm all here for. But yeah, I don't use Taylor Swift audios very often, or popular audios really at all. I really only use what audios like I like. So if I'm listening to a song, I'll make an audio for it because I'm obsessed with it. But like I do use a lot of Taylor Swift audios. I think I did a Midnight's editing series, and I think I have like 2 songs still left. I think that's Snow on the Beach and Dear Reader, but I would have to fact check myself on that. And I'm done. Velocity edits have become much more popular, which I personally don't like. I think it's very cheap. It's very simple, in my opinion. I don't like them, and maybe that's controversial, but I don't really care. Making the transitions is something that is so fun for me as a person. And if you see like edits of mine that there aren't transitions, I tried transitions first and then I didn't like them, or it's like very emotional. So it's kind of like if it has that big good like that hunk of concept behind it, then I think it's fine. There's a Bellamy Blake edit that I have saved, and I and it's the the thing of Hope going, what is it about Bellamy that makes otherwise sensible women willing to die for him? And then like the caption's like, have you seen him, Hope? And it's so accurate, but it's a very very simple edit, but I saved it because I love that voiceover, and I think that's also true. Like if you really like something, you're gonna save more edits of it. Oh my gosh, there's a TikTok editor, because I have a Glee TikTok. If you don't follow it, it is only it's only K Glee, because my name's Kaylee. I think I originally wanted it as Kegly, but it was taken, because I always think it's so, I love that I have that username, because I remember like looking on Twitter, and like everybody during me, like everybody had an ME in their name. So like if their name was like what is the name with that? It's like Emmy, and it's like Emmy or Melissa. It's me, Lissa, and I thought that that was so fun. So I was like thinking about a username I wanted. Like I was thinking, okay, Rachel Finchel, and then I was like, oh my gosh, Kegley, because that's my name. But I was, anyways, not the point. Not the point. What was I even saying? Oh, I have a TikTok edit saved, like a kind of velocity edit, but it's more of a fan cam, and it's All I Want by Olivia Rodrigo to Finn, Rachel, and Jesse. And oh my gosh, I gotta go watch it right now because I love it so much. But there's certain things I feel like you either have to have a really strong concept or you have to be very technically inept. And it's better to have both than just one. But yeah, that is all the things that I've noticed about like the editing fandom. And like, oh, also about the velocity edits TikTok. I think the reason that velocity edits have become more popular is because they are more accessible to TikTok. The simpler that they are, the more easily somebody can adapt to them. And like the longer, like my mom really doesn't like my edit. Well, she does, but she doesn't really like my edits because they're so fast. That's all I get told all the time. Like, wow, slow down. And I think like with velocity edits, they're more accessible to people who don't want to see very fast transitions and such. I'm very used to seeing very fast transitions, and I really enjoy it personally. But yeah, so I think that they're more accessible to people that aren't editors. But yeah, thank you so much for watching my video. And if you like this video, make sure to go subscribe and check out all my other videos. And I love you guys so much. All 1,000 of you are so awesome. And thank you for watching my videos. If you watch my videos like every week, that's so nice of you. Like really, truly. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you. Bye.